Hi there, I'm taking more video of this because it's important.
Or suspect it strongly, at least.
Sure, although I'm reminded of Oklahoma City, which was a bombing, which was initially treated as a gas explosion, so first reports are often erroneous.
Right.
You know, the fact that there were two explosions and two bombings. You know, one of the things I'd be looking at is once the device, if it is a device, is found, what kind of explosives were used? So, for instance, if it was hydrogen peroxide, this is sort of a signature of al-CIAda. If it was more conventional explosives, which are much harder to get hold of now, that might be some other kind of right-wing extremists. And we've seen a number of failed bombing attempts by al-CIAda using bombs. Najib al-Azazi and
Wow, this guy knows
for instance,
way too much
Subway in 2009, Faisal
about this
Times Square in
incident.
2010, the attempt to bring down the Northwest Flight 253 over Detroit in 2009. But we've also seen other extremist groups, right-wing groups, attacking, for instance, trying to attack the Martin Luther King parade in Oregon in 2010. So, if it is a device of some kind, you know, we should leap to conclusions about where it's coming from in terms of a political persuasion, and the kind of device will indicate, I think, if it has any links to al-CIAda. It is much more likely to be a hydrogen peroxide bomb than other kinds of bombs.
Oh,
Basically,
is it?
the reason for that is hydrogen peroxide is relatively easy to accumulate, whereas, let's say, if you go out and buy something for a fertilizer bomb, you're going to attract a lot of law enforcement attention at this point.
I also, we have in here in studio, we have with us former Congresswoman Jane Harman, who was the House Intelligence, the ranking Democrat on the House Intelligence.
You know, if you
Committee.
listen close enough to CNN, they tell you that they're involved.
Counterparts doing right
They
now?
tell you
What
the
is House
government is
Intelligence, the
involved
Senate
and that this
Intelligence
is
Committee,
indeed a false
members,
flag
what are they
terror
doing? What
attack.
are, members of the CIA, FBI, what are they doing right now?
Well, Congress needs to be briefed, and I'm quite sure that the chief of staff of each committee, House and Senate Intelligence, is on the phone right now with either Janet Napolitano or a top aide, and possibly,
Good old big sis.
and possibly with the White House as well.
Nasty
Fran
looking.
Townsend was in the White House chair when I spent my time on the House Intelligence Committee, and she was a source of information. There will be concern, especially by the members of Congress from Boston or New York or Washington. These are obviously places that have to be on heightened alert, and those members need to be briefed. And I was listening to Peter, who is enormously qualified to talk about this. I think it's true that what was in, if it turns out to be a bomb, what substance was in there, what may
See, she
determine
already
the signature
knows.
of the group. But let's remember, there have been attacks at Olympics in the past, at big sporting events, at the
She already knows.
Olympics in Atlanta, and then at the Munich bombing in the 70s, way long ago, and the motives for those attacks were very different from an al-CIAda motive. It's too early to know, but I certainly think it looks suspicious, and it is an enormous tragedy. The good news, if there is something that we could call good news, is there's a lot of law enforcement and medical help on the scene, and simultaneously a rocket didn't go off in North Korea, or at least not yet.
We're joined on the phone right now with Josh Cox. He's in Boston. Josh, tell us what is happening where you are right now.
Well, I was brought back here by Universal Sports and with my sponsors, PowerBar and Garmin, to just be at the expo, and I was here doing the commentating, and we were actually getting ready to shoot the recap show, and our studio's set up right by the finish line there on Boylston. So I was just walking over and was actually talking to a friend of mine right there by the finish shoot, and we heard one just massive explosion, a huge boom, and obviously we didn't know what it was, and I had my phone out, and I snapped the photo thinking, oh,
Yeah, they're not using the word explosion, they're using bombing.
When the second one went off, we said, that's a bomb. And it was, we could smell the smoke, we saw people lying on the ground,
You're such an expert, you knew it was a bomb.
The police were on it. Boston PD were
This is
all through the area.
ridiculous.
Earlier in the day, I saw the bomb-sniffing dogs.
Earlier in the day, there were bomb-sniffing dogs.
About 26.2 miles and over right around 500,000 spectators lining the course.
Interesting.
Boylston Street is where everyone really just, it's shoulder to shoulder, standing room only. Everyone's trying to see the pros finish and their friends and family finish, and everyone just kind of scattered once once the second one
I
went
have
off.
no doubt this is a false
Very,
flag
very
terror
frightening.
alert from our government. So they could put TSA checkpoints on every street
According
corner
to some
and
other
cameras
news reports,
everywhere.
There have been two
This
more.
is ridiculous.
The Associated Press specifically, there have been two more explosive devices found in Boston. We were told not long ago that counterterrorism crews were
So they
roving around Boston looking
So that
at other
counterterrorism
landmarks,
crew's
looking at
already
places
there.
where,
And they've already
bombs
found
might
two
be
devices.
located, and
That's
told
very
the Associated
interesting.
Press, citing sources
Well, you'd
in,
think something like
Boston
that would take
two,
hours to find.
Of those devices, suspected devices, have been found.
Suspected
John,
devices.
you are from the area. Tell us more about what your sources are telling.
Just a little bit. Number one, we're told the first official law enforcement briefing will be at 4:30 p.m. It is being held at the Westin Hotel Copley Square, so very near where the explosions took place near the finish line. So
Which
that
I'm
tells you
sure they
police
had
have
set
still
up
secured that general
beforehand.
area. It's right in that area. One of the sources I spoke
Oh,
to
yeah,
by
look,
email
it's all
is
set
using
up
the
and
term
ready to
explosive
go.
devices. So we've been trying to figure out, could this have been a gas explosion? Could this have been something else? Or could it be a bombing of some kind? They're using the term explosive devices, which tells you you have a law enforcement investigation now. You noted there are reports that at least two more have been found. I spoke to a source who said they were told at least one had been detonated by a bomb squad. I've been not able to get a second source on that, and I just want to be careful again because sometimes you do get conflicting information.
This
In
is
fact, right now, let's bring in
ridiculous.
CNN Crime and Justice correspondent Joe Johns. He's in our newsroom here in Washington. And Joe, you have news about another device.
Right, Jay. That sort of comports with what John King was reporting there. We've talked to a government source who has told us that what he describes as a third explosive device has been discovered, they believe, by fire department officials on the ground there in Boston. It's important to say that this federal source also says the fire department, other first responders have been, as you'd expect, combing the area looking for any ignition source or any explosive device that might remain in the area, and apparently have found at least one, possibly more, there on the ground. So
Wow.
you obviously have
It's
to
interesting
use
the bomb
abundance
sniffing
of
dogs
caution
didn't
right
pick
now in
anything
these
up
situations
until after
because
the
no
explosions.
law
That's
enforcement
very
authority has
interesting.
gone on the air and confirmed for us on the record that this was in fact a bomb. But many
Why
of the
would they even
signs
have
are certainly
bomb sniffing
pointing there right
dogs
now.
there?
And we know that
In the first
4
place.
minutes, law enforcement and the fire department in Boston will give a press conference giving more information about what they know. We're expecting that press conference in roughly 3 minutes, and we will bring that, of course, to you live. Tom Foreman.
Well, the
is here
whole
to tell us
scene
more,
looks like a
about
crime
the
scene, right?
incident
They're
and the
cordoning
event
off
itself.
people.
Sure, Jake,
Nope,
this is,
just
as
people
you know,
are walking
this is a
around.
big sporting event for
No
the
worries.
runners. This is the big
This is
sporting event of the year. It's
ridiculous.
extraordinary. You can look at the routes.
Do you
elsewhere
believe
in Hopkins,
this
but if you look at the
bullshit
wider
that
routes,
CNN is
generally
pushing
straight
on
lines
you?
and
Then
it's
I
more and
feel
more
sorry
dense
for you.
as it works its
If
way
you believe
into Boston. As we move towards the
anything
finish
that
line,
the
we're gonna stop
news
partway
tells
in
you, I
here.
feel sorry
See
for
some
you.
landmarks, which I know John over here is very well acquainted with. As you move in, you're going past Fenway Park over here. You're passing the Massachusetts Institute of Technology over in here. You're passing Boston College, Boston University. So a lot of places passing here. Right now, what police have been telling runners to do, this is Mass Ave cutting right through here. They're telling all the runners on
People,
this
do
side of
your own
Mass Ave
research.
to
Use
keep
your own
going
logic.
down toward Boston Common down there. The rest of them, they want to come back